right. So, hey, everybody, and welcome to the FFL Solidity Team call. My name is Marisa Maggio, and I'm super, super excited to be on with all of you guys today, going into the last week of March, so to say. Short week, but still a week. With that being said, guys, each and every week, I kind of think back to different experiences that I've had or that other people have told me about that were positive experiences that kind of opened up their eyes to different ways that we can run this business or different ways or avenues that we can use as we're in this business. Now, speaking of the producer crews, I won't go on too much of a tangent here, but that's where I was able to meet Harold Durana and his lovely wife as well. And to be honest, Harold, when I first met you, I was like, is he lying? And then I was talking to Harold, I was like, he don't have a lion bone in his body. So Harold, I'm super excited to be on with you today. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I just work here.
I love it. I love it, dude. Well, just to kind of jump into the call, before we do that, I was able to meet Harold actually being on the producer crew. So, guys, if you're sitting there and you're like, well, I don't know if it's that important to qualify, I'm like, well, I got to sit with Harold at dinner. So it's definitely that important to qualify. Get yourself there, get yourself around people that are doing this at a high level and they're excited about sharing it. Now, Harold, with all that being said, talk to us a little bit about kind of what you were doing before Family First Life and kind of what brought you to the insurance industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been a long journey. It's been a while actually. So, I was actually at a previous company. I was at a captive company. A lot of people have come from this captive company, so it's very familiar to a lot of people. Where they provided quote unquote leads, okay, and they had a niche market, and so I was there for a while. I was there for about 12 years, and you're when you're there, I mean, it's at the end of the day for me, it was like my first company I've ever been to, right? I didn't know any better, didn't ever looked or anything like that. So you're like comfortable, right? In that sense, because you're like, all right, I'm already used to this. I've learned it over the few years and just, I didn't want to move anywhere. You get blinded by your own success. I say that all the time. You're just blinded by what you know. And whenever, somebody says, hey, here's a door over here, you're like, I'm good. I don't want to look at it. Never did. Never really looked outside. Really, what sparked me to look outside was during that whole COVID time frame because everything transitions. Because I did do the field, right? I was in the field, going to see clients. Just like Rami was, going out there getting cooties from clients. Uh, that was what I did, and then we transitioned to doing it over the Zoom, and that like completely changed, right? The whole entire industry. That was pretty cool. That changed everything. And then the thing is that I was at a place where they provided leads and it was a niche market, but that niche market that doesn't grow. It wasn't growing. If anything, it was actually somewhat shrinking. So, you have a certain amount of leads. It's not infinite. It's not everybody. It's just a certain amount of leads, and then you're seeing the same people over and over again, talking to the same people over and over again, or you're just passing leads over. Like you're like, hey Marissa, here you go. Here's your leads. All right, you're done with those. All right, here, Rami, you can have them now. They're new to you. You've never called them. It's cool. You haven't, you wouldn't know any better until you call them, and they're like, wait, I just talked to Marissa like last week. You're like, oh, so it got to that point where it was just constant. Constant, constant. Yeah, exactly. Policy on our service, right? You can only do it so many times. You get people who are like, yeah, we do a quarterly review. I'm like, quarterly? It went from annual, semi-annual, quarterly, every month review. It's like, geez. It's like I just wrote that. Somebody's already calling it. Like that's crazy. So it got really bad. And that's when I met Isaiah Academy and had a conversation. Just, somebody linked me up with him. He was actually at the last company for like a blink. He was there for like a month or something, 2 months, and then left. Then I had a conversation with him. Then he just explained to me how FFL is, and the lead issue, right? Talked about the lead issue, but the biggest thing that he talked to me about was agents. It wasn't necessarily about me, and that's really what it was for a lot of people who are trying to recruit from FFL to other companies. Everybody always talks in that manner of like, oh, you're gonna make a lot of money, you're gonna get rich, and it's like, well, I'm already comfortable, right? You're talking to somebody who's comfortable, right? And and you've been making that money for a good period of time, right? you make three, four, $500,000 a year for like 5 years, you're kind of like, I'm good. Leave me alone. Like, don't talk to me. I'm like, I'm good. Don't worry about it. And again, that eye opener of like, well, you're agents. And that conversation changed everything. It was just kind of like, okay, well, not that I want to call him a bottom agent, but the bottom agent, like what were they doing? What were they writing? And that's the conversation that happened. And it was like, all right, well, if they do 2 to 3 policies a month, they're new, they don't know any better, they're still learning, trying to get better, and they're, scraping the bottom of the barrel of the leads. And it's like, can they survive? Like, oh, nobody's ever asked me that, right? Nobody. And you're just kind of like, okay, well, no. Like, no, but you have these hard conversations constantly too, right? When you're over there, you have that conversation a lot of, hey, I can't make my bills, I'm not making any money, and you're just like, well, if you just call more and get more referrals, you might make more, you should make more money. But that's not a valid answer, right? It's like you can only say that so much to somebody, right? And it gets hard. Then you're like, all right, something's got to give. I got to change. I got to do something. Again, that was the hardest transition ever, right? You're just comfortable making good money, and then you're like, all right, reset. And you're like, I think I got this. I got it. I'll figure it out. So
Right.
it,
But
it, it was rough.
you're like version 2.0, but I'm gonna figure
Yeah,
it out, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
and Harold, you said so many good things there. I want to unpack just really quickly, but how long were you with that practice company?
12 years.
That says a lot about you because it's like, here's my theory, anyways, is, if you're going to see success somewhere, you're typically going to be able to bring that success with you because it's within you. It's not necessarily within the place, right? The place just makes it maybe easier or harder, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you said you get blinded by your own success, right? I think that that's huge. It sounds like, you know, when you kind of departed from there and you had that conversation with Isaiah, you were having a we conversation versus a me conversation. Like
Exactly.
me was taken care of, right?
Yeah.
But you were like, okay, you're right, because all those agents that don't get the leads or that are calling behind, me, you, and Rami, so to say,
Yeah.
they're not going to make it. And like you said, I can only have the conversation of I can't pay my bills, I can't do ABC, I'm worried about my kids so many times with people until it's like, dude, like you should leave because this is
Yeah.
not right. So stinks that you went through that, but at the same time, I can imagine that you have a very strong character because of it. You learned so much through that experience, and that the
Mm-hmm.
training in its own, just being able to work through that, get through that, and work yourself up for that long is absolutely amazing. So just
Yeah.
hats off to you there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, of course. And then also just like I think it's important just to point out, guys, like Harold just unpacked the law and like just like his like quick intro there, like guys, hard conversations are necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, like if Isaiah didn't have a hard conversation with you that day, Harold, you might not have been like, hey, like this makes sense, not just for me,
Yeah.
but for everybody else, right? Now, you're helping like 100 families a month personally, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you write like last month, just as an example? How many families?
90 something is very sad. I was right below that 100 mark, and the bonus, if you know the bonus,
The bonus went right over your
I
head.
looked
But
at it, I was like, oh my gosh, that much just to, miss sucks.
right.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, so still though, helping about 100 families a month, which is amazing. And your team's helping over 1,000 families a month.
We're at 600, six to
Well,
600. Yeah.
all right, all right. You're like, I'll take some of those kudos
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And Harold, how many people on your team would you say like they work the system and they plug in with you and they're grinding with you?
Everybody, because it doesn't make sense not to, right? You create a proper system and a proper process, and it's like you're showing it, right? At the end of the day, it's like, well, if this is what I'm doing, why would you not do it? Like it doesn't make sense. Like why would you do
Right.
something else? Like why would you try to reinvent it? Like there's no point. So it's all about duplication. This is a copycat industry. Like I didn't invent anything. I just copied everybody.
Right. So talk to us a little bit about that because I think like keeping it simple is like the best thing that I think we can do in this business, right? And sometimes we
Hmm.
want to overcomplicate everything, right?
Yeah.
what does your schedule look like? What do you empower your agent schedules to look like? Kind of talk to us a little bit just about that piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, schedule, the most important thing when it comes to schedule in general is that you have a hard start and somewhat of a soft stop. Okay, so what I mean by that is that you always start at the same exact time no matter what, appointment or not, doesn't matter. Right? I get it. We are 1099, independent. We can do our own thing type of, industry, right? Same thing as the corner store, right? Or Safeway. They're do their own thing too. But I'm sure you'd be upset if that you got there at 10 a.m. and it says they're open at 10 and they're like, well, where's everybody at? Right? So you got to take your business to that same exact level. You have a hard start, right? I'm for me it's 9 o'clock no matter what. I have two kids. There's drop off, in the morning, little morning routines. That's a non-negotiable for me, right? And you saw I brought my whole family on the cruise. That's a non-negotiable no matter what. So I'd make sure that that stuff is done, taken care of. If I can get started early, cool, I will, right? If it's like everything is done by like 8:30, 8 o'clock, sure, I'll go and start my day early, sure. From there, I have a soft stop. And what I mean by that is I'll run till, 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock, or until my wife yells at me. Okay. So until I get a, yo, what are you doing now? It's time to do this, to do that. Let's go, like, okay, all right, I'm coming. Right. Or, sometimes she'll go to like the in-laws house. She'll go run some errands and stuff. And I'm like, cool, I can keep going till I hear that garage, I'm going. Right. So, but the thing is that we have a proper setup at home. And what I mean by that is she understands what I'm doing. She understands the goals. She understands my schedule. It is a conversation that we've had, right? So it's when daddy's at work, dad's at work, right? The kids know. I mean, they're 3 and 4, but they know, right? And she also knows to go and say, okay, leave daddy alone. He's working, right? So I don't try to take advantage of the fact that I am again 1099 independent. I don't go, you know what? I'm just gonna end my day at 4. Let's just call it. I don't do that. Why would I do that? Shortcutting myself, shortcutting my goals. It's not now it's that's a me fault, right? That's my fault, right? So when the results aren't there, that's a me thing, right? And I can't get mad at the results that I didn't get from the work I didn't do, right? So I know that I have to put forth the effort. And again, as long as your home front is good, your business front will be great. So that agreement is very important.
Harold, I think that that's huge. And, like, of course, being married and having kids, you need that at home in terms
Hmm.
of the structure and the communication. I would say,
Yep.
even as an example, silly example, but guys, for those of you out there that maybe aren't married, you don't have kids, and you're like, I don't know. I think that I just do what I want to do. No, no, no. You still need that morning routine, right? You still need that routine. You still need that communication to someone. Harold, when Rami came into the business and when we started dating and he came and I was in the business, he was not in the business. I was in the field and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm with my client. It's like 8:30 at night. I'm like, I'll be home at like 10, see you then. Like he's like, well, like, what are we talking about? Right. Like
Yeah.
were you really, like what do you do again? Right. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, guys, like that was my lack of communication at that time with Rami of, hey, what's going on? And then I showed Rami and explained and had a conversation. And then it
Hmm.
became a part of my routine. And Rami understood. So I didn't feel like I had to explain myself every time I went into the field because we
Yeah.
had that conversation on the front end, right? Um,
Exactly.
so it's like if you do have children, you do have that, your wife, your husband at home, make sure you have had that conversation and that you guys have clear guides, right? Like
Yeah.
Harold's like, I'm working till the garage door comes on or
Yeah.
till I hear Harold, where are you? Like, where you
Yeah.
at? And that's
Support. It's such an important thing too. That the support. I want to just sorry cut you off.
now you're
I really
good.
like to press on this because it's very, very, very important that you do get support in the household. Because for me, I I my wife knows like and you share stories. I share stories with her too, right? It's like, oh, this client that, oh, this is what happened. This is what I wrote, and she's my biggest cheerleader, right? So she's like, good job, good job, good job, because again, if she came down and was nagging, you're always working, da 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 da, guess what? I'm gonna go in a downhill motion, right? So she knows that as much as it's like it's funny, I tell people all the time, nothing really gets me down, except for obviously when my wife puts like gets hits me hard, I'm like, all right, that'll put me down, right? It's, so, but she knows, okay, it's all about support because we have agreements, right? You have agreements within the household. Like for me and the family is every month we have a weekend getaway, whatever we want to do. There's no budget, no limit, no nothing, whatever you want to do. But the rest of the month, I gotta go to work and put in the work because that will allow us to do those things, right? So it's funny because people are like, you're always eating, you're always on vacation, you're always that. That's my agreement. It's not that I'm like, like, hey, I'm just gonna take advantage. It's like, no, this is the agreement I made, to be fair to my spouse and to my kids, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep. And you're like, when I'm going to be fair to my spouse and my kids, I'm going to be fair
Yeah,
to my business, right? And I'm
yeah,
going to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And I
yeah,
love that. You actually, I think, shared that with me, on the cruise. But I love that, you're grinding it out each day, so to say. And then that weekend when it comes, I'm sure it's a beautiful time with the family.
yeah,
And you just get to kick back and just worry about the family, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So I love that. And guys, I always say in this business, like after a certain period of time, like money is not the only thing. It's what we can do and the experiences that we can have with that money that's going to essentially keep us here or keep us wanting to move to that next level, so to say.
Hmm.
Now, Harold, let's not dive into the nitty gritty because I know that this is what everybody's kind of wanting to hear.
Sure.
Now, as it pertains to you, your group, in terms of lead flow, like, are you working a lot out of the ILC? What type of leads are you using and why?
Got it. This question always shocks everybody and because of my answer, and it is aged silver and bronze
And guys,
mortgage.
real quick, disclaimer: when Harold told me this at the dinner table before I knew anything about Harold, I was judging Harold. Okay, and Harold, I'm no longer judging you, by the way. I'm like, I'm gonna put my hand down. I was like, there is no way. But like, guys, like, let's just hear him out. All right, so go
Yeah.
for it, Harold.
I trust me, I get this every single time. They're like, no, seriously. They're like, no, seriously, what do you really run? And I'm like, aged mortgage, dude, like, I mean, what do you want me to say? The old ones? I mean, what do you want me to do? It is the bronze and the silver, and it's funny because everybody on our team runs it, and everybody has the same answer, and everybody says the same thing. They're like, no, there's no way, it's not possible. I'm like, that's fine, just don't buy them because then I'll keep buying them, and I'm okay with that. Like, fine with me, right? So we work age because when you get a new lead, and again, this is just my opinion, there is everybody on the planet trying to call them. They'll get these letters, and there's like 10 of them, and they fill every single one out, or they do call-ins, and then they call every single one, and there's all these people calling them at the same time. Okay. And at a certain point, anybody would be like, all right, this is crazy. Too many people call me. I don't want this. Leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. Right? You'll get that. So then it becomes everybody's like, oh, they don't want it, they don't want it, they don't want it. Or somebody has gone over a full presentation with them, pitched them something through the roof, or they talked to somebody else from a different IMO and they're like, you don't qualify because they don't have as many carriers as we do, and that's it. It's dead. It turns into a quote unquote dead lead, right? Because somebody else calls them and they're like, no, we already talked to somebody, see you later, bye. And I'm like, cool. A year goes by, nobody else has called him. My turn. So it is my turn. So I'm gonna call this person. Guess what? Hey, I'm calling you regarding the mortgage protection, form you had to fill out. I apologize that it's taken us so long to get to you. And then from there, I'll verify information. But at that point as well, they're gonna tell me what's going on. They go, you know what? We already tried to do this. We didn't qualify. Really? Okay. Well, then I'll tell them. Well, everybody qualifies. What do you mean you didn't qualify? This is why we have over 30 different carriers because we want to make sure that you can get something in place. And then they're like, no, they told me I didn't qualify. Well, are you like on your deathbed or something like that? I mean, it doesn't sound like it. And they're like, no, I have this and this and this and that. Okay, great. Well, 10, 15 minutes. I'll go ahead and take care of all this. I'll go over it all with you. No problem. Good to go. Now I already had somebody already set it up for me prior to, and now I'm just reiterating everything. And then it's an easy walk through the sale. Or I talked to somebody a long time ago. They told me it's gonna be $400 a month, and I'm like, $400 a month? That's crazy. It's actually based on a budget that you set. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you set the budget. We don't. You tell us. We go based on your income and your expenses. Has nothing to do with what I think. It has everything to do with your budget. They're like, oh, nobody ever told me that. Yeah, let me go over with you. Yeah, 400. That's outrageous. And then Boom, 200 bucks, 150 bucks. Cool. But ideally, and the reason why to me that's important, right? So finding something that fits within their budget is because this is a business of longevity. This is not a upfront money business. Okay. So a lot of people, when you're new, this is absolutely an upfront business, right? You get your upfront advances, but residual money is better than upfront money. Got to remember that. That's
Amen.
why we do what we do. Okay. And that's generational, right? That's generational wealth. You continue to keep receiving that, receiving that. That's more important. And of course, the client making sure that it's something that they can afford now, a year from now, a couple years from now, and continuous. Okay, like I get it. You'll get some people like, I can afford 500 bucks right now. And I'm like, okay, right now. But we need to make sure moving forward that this is going to be something you'll be able to keep. So that's why we like age, is because everybody else has already tried. Now it's my turn. You haven't talked to me. It's kind of like that. I guess it's a little bit, it's funny, it's a little bit like the pass the leads, but that's every like quarter and and to me, it's like a year later and nobody talked to them. Some of them are even like, nobody ever called me. And
Right.
I'm like, that's exactly why I'm calling you. Most of the time they completely forget anyways. They're like, somebody probably did call you. You just completely forgot. It was a year ago, 2 years ago. Of course you don't remember. I don't remember either. So,
Exactly. So I love that. And like you said, like with mortgage, with any lead, like a lead's a lead's a lead. I believe
hmm
that really and truly. But like you said, I completely understand where you're coming from when someone first gets that mortgage or they first refi, they're getting so many different things thrown at them. They're
hmm
just like, never mind, like just
hmm
leave me alone. Don't call me, right? And you're like, oh, I just spent $80 on that mailer, right? But you're like, okay, all right, Harold, I won't call you. But then in a year, and then in a year from now, though, it's like you reach out, they haven't been reached out to. Like you said, they might even forgot that someone definitely called. Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like someone definitely called. Like, but you're able to resonate with them. That's what it really kind of sounds like you're saying is whatever they're letting you know, you're resonating. You're like, oh, they showed you something crazy, like two, three, $400 a month. Okay, well, you actually make the you actually decide based off your budget. So that's kind of that's weird. Basically, let me help you out. I love how you said they haven't talked to me yet. It's like there's a lot of power in that. Like Harold, like truly, like really and truly, like in this business, if you don't believe in yourself, like there you can borrow my belief for a little bit. You can borrow, Harold's belief for a little bit. But there's gonna come a point where you have to believe in yourself. And a lot of that's going to come from things like what Harold just said, right? Like, oh, you're spending something like they showed you something crazy, like 400 or 500 a month. Okay, no, we're not going to be looking at that. And he's like, then I showed them something for 200 a month, and they're like, let's do it. I'm all in. I can afford that every month of the year. I don't foresee a reason why I can't. And you're writing better quality business at that point.
hmm
So I love that, and just really going back to them, their need, their budget, and you did fill the form out or you're just catching back up because you're so behind. And I think that that's a lot of keys, guys. There's a lot of word tracks that Harold just used there that just go back and steal them, like go back and collect them all. Now, with that being said, Harold, I can assume there's a lot of activity that goes behind that. Whether it's, do like in terms of follow up. So like let's first talk about like on your day, do you use dialers or not so much?
We use a custom built CRM.
Okay.
So Go High Level Style, Zepo, Agent CRM, we just they're all part of Go High Level. So we just have a custom built one, but they're all the same.
Beautiful.
So
Okay,
like
some like builds out workflows and things like
workflows.
that.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome. So is that really kind of what you're plugging them into? Like if you're trying to get a hold of them, you can't get a
hmm
hold of them?
So it runs through automation through the CRM. Plus we have virtual assistants on it as well. So they'll run the CRM plus dial too.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
you have all the different little channels, right? You get text messages, you're dialing, we have a dialer, we have somebody also responding to clients at the same time too. Because like I'm not gonna be able to do it every single time. There's no way, or even dial, there's no way, right? So that's it's just plugging everything into the system.
Right. And now, Harold, when you're getting your new agents started, do you start them like with the dialer as well, or do you want to make sure that they're able to dial as well?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what we actually have just started, not necessarily started, we've been implementing, it's just not as heavy, but we are doing now. IVR leads, everybody, I'm hoping everybody well, IVR leads, basically they get a mortgage letter, they call in, they go through prompts, turns into a lead. All right, so there's completes, people go through the whole thing, then there's incompletes as well. Okay, so what we've been doing recently, or in past few months actually, is every brand new agent starts on those. Okay, the reason why is because the habit of calling is never lost. Okay. So when you have like a CRM system in place, and you'll find this with other in agencies, we even ran across this where agents were like, dial. I don't want to dial. Like, what is that? Like, I want to do the automation thing. I'm like, yeah, it still works, but then now having to get them into dial habit as well, it was really hard. Now it's everybody starts on dialing first, and then they graduate to CRM system, and then they're also dialing at the same time. So now that is never lost. That whole dialing mentality is never gone. So you got to be able to do both. Okay. And then eventually, of course, when you have a proper, cash flow, then you can get an assistant, virtual assistant to help with those things. You don't have to do it right out the gate. Number one, you need to know how to do it yourself, right? So that
Espérame, tía, espérame.
when you do have a virtual assistant, that they know how to do it as well. You know what I mean? Because you got to be
Sí,
able to
tía,
train it.
espérame.
You got to be able to train it, right? So that's really what it is. Okay. So you don't want to lose that mentality of calling when you do get a CRM. So that's very important. Don't do that.
Absolutely. So that's huge. So essentially, once you are that agent, so to say, that's, helping maybe 40, 50 families a month, you want to get your own, VA or dialer that's going to help you out. Cool. I like how you said you go from dialing to graduating to the CRM, because you're saying like now we can have some more automation, but like you need to know how to dial the phone, because if the automation breaks tomorrow, we need to know that you can still earn your income, right?
Exactly.
And that you can help your VA, your dialer, and make sure that they're dialing efficiently to set you efficient appointments as well. So that's huge. And then you're plugging them in. If you're not able to get a hold of them, your dialer can't get a hold of them, you're plugging them into the CRM that's just dripping on them
Correct.
consistently.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. And guys, just to kind of give you like a similarity, if you're like, what do we mean by workflows? That's essentially just the work drips that you see, for example, with Ringy, with the new CRM that we're using. So that's what the workflow is. It's just essentially spitting out the text messages, the emails to said
Mm-hmm.
party. And now talk to us a little bit about your expectations when you're talking to a new agent. Like, it's really easy to get excited about this business, Harold. And I could call you and be like, Harold, like, you're never going to believe what I'm doing. This is amazing. You're going to make thousands and thousands of dollars. You're going to be a millionaire next week. Like, let's do this thing. And you're like, all right, I'm going to get my license. Like, okay, cool, right?
Yeah.
Like slow down, right? So what are some of the expectations that you're setting for new agents when they're coming into your group? Because I like how when I opened the call and I asked you, like, kind of who's plugging in, you're like, if they're not plugging in, they're not on the team.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So expectations wise is be present. Of course, that's number one. Be present. You have to be. So the lesson there is I cannot teach you, I cannot help you if I don't hear you or see you. There's nothing I could do, right? So I'm explaining this to like brand new agents is this. Okay, you may call me after the appointment and say, you know, I did the full presentation, I did everything. It was great, it was amazing, but they wanted to think about it. I'm like, okay. Or they gave me this rebuttal. And I'm like, how'd you even get that rebuttal? Like, how'd you get to that conversation? I thought your presentation was great. Like, where'd you go to get this? How? Right? So that's the thing, right? Everybody thinks, even myself, oh, my presentation's amazing every single time, 100% of the time. It's not true. Okay. There's certain words and certain things that you don't realize you are saying, right? When you're presenting and you say it naturally, right?
Yeah.
It's, even when you're like presenting options and you're like, okay, so this is going to cost you. And you're like, why'd you say that? Right? Now you throw them into bill mentality, spending mentality, not the mentality of you're setting this aside. That's what you're doing. You're setting it aside for your family. It's two different things, right? So just by a word, one word changes everything, So you have to be present so I can hear you, see what you're doing. Like if you have an issue with something, let's say we use insurance toolkits for quoting software. So, oh, well, it's not giving me this option. I'm like, I can't see it. Like as much as I can visualize it, sure, but I can't see what you've put in there. I don't know. So screen share it. And it's like, okay, cool. Now you screen share, I can help you. Or application. I'm stuck on an application. I don't know what's going on. Okay, well, you forgot to tick this box. Okay, I don't know these things unless you are present. Okay, it's
Mhm.
very, very important. Okay, and then again, so being present is the first thing. Then, of course, proper schedule, like we had just talked about. You have to have a proper schedule. If you are showing up whenever you feel like it, you will get the whenever you feel like it paycheck as well, right? It'll pay you whenever it feels like it. So you got to maintain a proper schedule and then run a proper presentation, right? Because if you're running a proper presentation with real structure, again, every presentation works at the end of the day, right? The reason why they work is because they're structured, okay? So when you are, let's say, every appointment not following a proper structure and you're making something up every single appointment, you're changing it so much, there's absolutely no way for me to help you. How can I help you? Right? If your next appointment is going to be an absolute mystery, I have no idea how I can help, you know? There's no way, right? I have no idea what to do because your next appointment, you might go completely a different direction where I just taught you to do it this way and I explained to you why you should do it this way, and then you get in there and it's completely different. I So you have to maintain proper presentation, right? So and it's also your roadmap. Yeah, you don't just go and say like I need to get somewhere that I've never been to, and I'm not gonna go with a map. Like, why you need a map? You need your GPS. You need to turn it on. Okay, no matter how many times you've got there, you need to know how to get there every single time properly, right? Even though again we've done it so many different times. Okay, you still need to make sure your roadmap is there. So no matter what, because it keeps you on task. Okay, everybody's like, well, you still have like your bullet points and all that stuff, all your notes and all that stuff in front of you. I'm like, yeah, always. Like I'm a scatterbrain too, just like everybody else. So if somebody throws me off, I'm gonna get thrown off, and I'm gonna be part of that, right? Going off task with the client. Whereas I have everything in front of me, I'm like, oh yeah, oops, I need to go back to this, right? So I stay on task.
I love that. And I think that so when you're saying be present too, just so I'm with you, your your agents you're working with, you guys are all predominant telesales. Is that
Uh-huh.
right?
Yep.
So you guys are all on Zoom together.
Yep.
All right. And how beneficial do you think that is for your agents that actually utilize the channel in terms of, like you said, if I can't see you or hear you, I can't help you, right? Like
Yeah.
how beneficial do you think it is for the agent maybe you had that wasn't willing to do that versus the agent you had that was willing? Like what does the difference look like?
Well, the AP speaks for itself, right? You'll see that every person who's plugged in, everybody who's present writes the most business, period, right? And then the second thing is there's no way you can get better by yourself. Like, how are you going to teach yourself to be better at something you don't know how to do? Like, there's no way. You don't know what you don't know, right? Whereas being present, we have people asking questions, and then you're gonna go, oh wait, I ran into that. I know now I need to, okay, let me listen to this. Like, oh yeah, I know that one too. Okay. You're actually being present, being plugged in. You're literally gaining knowledge by like wallflowering even, right? You're just a wallflower. You're just sitting there just on the side and it's like, you're listening. You continue to learn and learn and learn. This business is about learning, right? You have to continue to learn and get better. There's no way. Like I don't know everything. There's no way. But I'm gonna keep asking questions, keep learning, keep understanding new things, new concepts. That's the only way, right? And if you think, oh, I'm good, I already know what I'm doing. Oh, you're downhill. Take your
You
downhill.
already lost.
Take your sled and get ready to go downhill.
Yeah. Grab the sled for sure because you're gonna need
Yeah.
it. You're gonna need it. So I love that. And then, also like the proper schedule. I think that this business, like I just asked you, like, what are the expectations from someone who helps over 100 families a month, right? And you
Yeah.
said be present, have a proper schedule, and run a proper presentation, right? Like you have to
Hmm.
have a roadmap. Like we don't have to overcomplicate this business, guys. Like just as much as we want to overcomplicate it, we're gonna. But the thing is I love that. Like, you know, if I can't see you, I can't hear you, I can't help you. Because Harold, how many times have you had an agent come back to you and be like, well, that is what I said. That is what I said.
Exactly.
And
Here's
you're like,
here,
dude, that's what you said. That's
I
not
mean,
what they would have said.
like here, and it's funny. It's like I like to do analogies and stuff with like agents too. So I'll be like, all right, cool. What's your like, Marissa? What's your favorite restaurant?
Um, Rico,
Rico. Okay, what type of food is it?
Italian.
Italian. All right, cool. So I tell you, I call you. I'm like, hey, I'm at Rico. I just, I'm here. I'm ordering. What's the best thing on the menu?
I like their pizza a lot
The
personally.
pizza. They're like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. I'll get that next time. I already got the burrito. And you're like, burrito? They got a burrito on the menu? Like that's probably hands down the worst thing on the menu. And you're like, well, yeah, I already got it. So the next time I'll get a pizza. You're like, what? Call me before you order. And you're like, this is terrible. This burrito was terrible. This restaurant sucks now. Right? And it's like, well, if you would have told me before you got there, I would have told you to do the right thing and you would have been fine. Now you all of a sudden, again, just to bring back to like what we do, oh, this lead sucks. This territory
Right.
sucks. Right? But it's like, if you would have told me beforehand, I would have been able to help you, get you to do the right thing. That's all it is. Right?
Right. Yeah. And you know, like just like you said, so you got to be present. Like in that analogy is great. Like you definitely should not get a burrito like Rico. Like it would be awful. I'm like Carol, well, I'll meet you there next time. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
next time. And but that's exactly what it is, guys. It's like if no one knows on the front end, nobody can help you on the back end. Like
Yep.
to a point, I'm all big on massive action, constant correction. But if you're taking massive action, you're probably going to be present, if you
Yep.
will, right? Like that's the person that shows up, right? So I love that. And then proper schedule. I don't know if I could like, I think I probably, there was like a repeat button. It's like, we have to have a schedule, guys. Like the moment you start negotiating that is the moment you start negotiating everything in your business. And it just doesn't feel good. Like Harold said, get the sled, just get the sled. And then running a proper presentation. If you've never done a presentation with an actual client that you never spoke to before, and you get on the phone and no one knows what you said, it's like, I hope you recorded yourself so we can at least listen back to it because there's nothing to go off of. Like, we don't know what you said. And it's going to be that is what I said, Harold. And Harold's like, nah, dude, I say that every day. So if that's what you said, you would help the family, right?
Yep.
So I love that. And I think that sometimes we can really overcomplicate this business and we can make it like, you know, I have to have this perfect lead type, or Harold's only winning because he runs this lead type. Harold's only winning because you know he works from 9 a.m. until 6. No, guys, Harold's winning because he's plugged in. He cares about other people outside of just himself, which he led with. Like, you know, like that's the real kind of reason why it sounds like you came over here, Harold. It wasn't just about you anymore.
Mhm.
And you're making sure that the people that you're working alongside, they understand there's just a couple simple things to this business that you have to get really good at. And in the
Mhm.
beginning, guys, in my opinion, it's not going to be easy. It's going to stink. But guess what? Like, I'm not trying to go work at Target either. Like, that just doesn't sound good for me. So I don't have a plan B. So if your
Yeah.
plan B is better than that, I mean, I don't know. But the way I have to look at this business is there's not a plan B. This is the roadmap. We follow it and we win. We don't follow it
Mhm.
or we go astray. We need to get the sled. And that's the best thing Harold ever said was we need to get the sled because we're going downhill. Like, so I love that. I really do. And I think that, like you said, no way you can get better by yourself. Like, you know what you know. I know what I know, right? And like we both can learn a lot, I think.
Mhm.
But I love how you said, okay, guys, like just to recap really quick. And Harold's been in this industry for 14 years, give or take.
15.
Okay. And Harold still has his script in front of him. Guys, I still have my script in front of me. Rami probably has his little raggedy script right there in front of him right now. Like, we all still have our scripts in front of us. You're never too good for the script. Our mind goes here, there, everywhere. We're people. There's Rami's script. I had to like copy it the other day. This looks off. But you know, it works, guys. Our head goes everywhere. When you're on the phone with the client, especially when you're trying to learn, just have those things out. Have it up. Have your script out. Have the tools up. have insurance toolkits open. Like make sure you have things that can work for your benefit. Because there is not a way you can get better by yourself, guys. And the moment you start thinking that you can or that you're better than everybody is, again, we need to get the sled. All right. So couple last questions just to wrap it up, Harold. I want to be respectful of your time. Why do you believe people can overcomplicate things in this business? And how do you avoid that, try to help people avoid that from the jump?
Yeah. You know, the thing is with a lot of brand new agents walking into this, it's they don't know what they know, right? They're just kind of like, okay, I'm walking in, and what happens is that they follow the system, and you'll see this with a lot of brand new agents. They follow the system first week, 2, 3 weeks, they write business, everything's great and dandy. They've been here for an entire month, and all of a sudden they are the greatest insurance professional on the planet. And now I've been here for a whole month now. I'm the best. So you know what I'm gonna do? My next presentation, I'm gonna completely rewrite the presentation, do it my way and everything. Yeah, I'm going to take all this information that I've learned over X amount of months and try to drop it on a client in 30 minutes. Because I can do that. I'm the best in the planet, right? It's like, and that's what people don't understand. It's like you don't need to do that. You think about what we are explaining to clients, right? We're explaining what it does, not what it actually is, right? It's like if you're not going and saying like, okay, well, this is a term, da, 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 da. This is mortgage protection. It'll cover you for the duration of the loan, right? You pass away, it covers you, critical, chronic, terminal, and then worst case scenario, nothing happens to you at all. You just get a refund. Anybody could understand that, right? But if you start complicating and adding all these little things, like let me tell you about this and then this, let me go into IULs and then let me go all in one presentation. You're like, what are you doing? Why you took it and overcomplicated it for no reason? I don't even like me personally. I hate change as well. Like I hate change. I just want to do the same thing over and over again because it makes it easy,
Right.
right? I keep it extremely simple. It's so interesting that when you do this and everybody says the same thing, right? Keep it simple, keep it simple. And you're like, but I have all this knowledge. I want to just throw it all up on the client and then it's gonna work. Like, no, nobody wants to buy or do anything that they don't understand or is complicated. Nobody. If you can understand 75% of it, that 25% you're like, well, that's really complicated. I'll think about it. I
Yeah.
don't want it. You know what? I don't know because I don't understand it, right? But if you're like gonna cover your loan if you pass away, heart attack, critical illness, chronic illness, stroke, cancer, any you list all the things, it's gonna cover you that. Then nothing happens at all. They just give you a check back for all the premiums you paid. Oh, okay, that makes sense, right?
I'm signing up right now,
Super
Harold.
simple.
That,
Yeah,
that that's the easiest pitch I've
super
ever heard.
simple.
Yep.
Super
Yep.
simple. And it's crazy the expectation that some agents think like that big producers, top producers do is that it's such a sophisticated type of presentation. No, it's not. Super basic, super easy, super simple. Yeah, we don't like I it's just follow the same exact path that's already been beaten, right? It's this too. It's again, Marissa's already created a presentation for you guys, right? Okay, when you're a brand new agent, and I hate to say it like this, but like, what gives you the right to be able to write a presentation in your whole 1 month experience? Like, what gives you the right to be able to think like, oh, I'm going to write a presentation, the greatest presentation ever? No, presentations require a lot of things. There's a lot of psychology in there, sales techniques in there, strategy, okay, and direction, right? You can't just go up, down, left, right. Oh, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Then you repeat yourself. Okay, then there's no structure. There's no point in that. There's already one that already exists that has structure, that has a process. Just go boom, 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 and then application time. Why?
Love it.
Why? You don't need to add extra turns. You don't need to do all that. Yeah, you're trying to get to your destination. It's a straight line. Why'd you turn right? What was the point of that? Why'd you turn left? What? I don't. I'm confused. Why'd you do all that? Why'd you add extra stuff? I think I say it on the video I did with Sizer. It was like, why are you adding all these sprinkles and extra sauce and all that for what? Like, why are you so fancy? Like, what does that do? And at the end of the day, you always look at it as like, I'm not better than anybody. Why are you under the assumption you're better than everybody? Like
Right.
what makes you think like, oh, okay, I'm gonna create this whole new thing and I'm gonna be the greatest ever? Like for what? Like I said earlier, everything I do and everything that I say has been borrowed or stolen from YouTube, from calling people, hey, what do you say here? What do you do this? How do you do this? That's all it is. It's not, I didn't, mine's not original. I took everything from everybody. I'm not original at all. It's just borrowed information,
That's right.
interpreted, and that's it. So
And the best
keeping it
copycat
simple.
wins.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why
Yep.
you're winning, Harold,
Yeah.
100%. And I think it's a really important thing. Like you pointed out a lot of things there, but one really important thing, guys, is like, yeah, keep it simple for sure. Like keep like don't overcomplicate it, but like can we see why if we go like Harold said, it's a straight line, we go right or we go left versus just giving it a straight line? It's like if someone called me and tried to pitch me, for example, mortgage protection, they were like, well, we can do it this way, we can do it this way, or we can write you an IUL if you want to do some retirement. Like, I'm going to be like, okay, I need to think about it because I lost them after the first thing that they showed me.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I didn't think it was going to. If you've ever been on the phone with someone, they're like, I didn't think it was going to be this difficult.
Hmm.
It's like, that ain't good that they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I've been there before and I'm like, oh Lord, I probably sound awful right now. Let me get my script back, right? Like, like if they're telling me that, that's a very big red flag.
Yep.
So guys, you just want to remember, like just like Harold said, everything that's out there by people who are winning at a high level, or even just looking at our sales scripts, it's like we didn't just put that script and say, hey guys, use this script because we want you to fail. We did it with intention. We did it because there's word tracks in there. There's one-liners that are important. There's good ways that you're building need, value, and just walking them through an actual presentation. So Harold, you've been absolutely amazing today. I can't thank you enough for being on with us. Before we hop off, one thing I always really just like to ask folks, being kind of going into quarter two, if you will, of 24. I know this past year you got your gold jacket, right, for helping over 1,000 families, issuing over 1 million of issue paid premium, which is amazing. You were one of how many?
5. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
5.
was it five? Okay,
Yeah.
which one of five in the whole company, guys. So Harold, with that being said, what is your goal really to wrap up 2024 in terms of personal, team, both?
I mean, personal production is personal production. It just shows that I'm good individually, whoop-de-doo. But the real, and I say this all the time, the real jacket that I really, really want is the green one. It's the only one I want. When they told me about it, that was literally it. I was like, that's the jacket I want because that is the team jacket. Okay. That is a $10 million agency jacket. That means your team was paid. I can be paid. Cool. Whoop-de-doo, right? That's great. I can get a red jacket, can get a gold jacket, whatever, blue jacket for annuities, whoop-de-doo. But the green jacket means you're able to duplicate yourself and be able to teach a team to do well. That right there, hands down, is more important than any other jacket. I personally, that's my opinion. Again,
Amen.
okay. So that that's why I said it on stage. It's like 12 we're looking for 12 million this year. I want to double up from last year. We did 6-1, so I'm gonna do 12, right? And
Go.
all I want is that green jacket. That's it. That's to me is like I said, means everything. Okay. So I've stayed true to my word of bringing people and teaching them to do well in the business. That's what that means, right? Like you as a manager make a promise to somebody when you hire them, I'm going to help you to do well, right? And that green jacket is literally that is telling everybody like, yo, I stayed true to what I said I was going to do. Teach people how to do this business. That by far for anybody here, if you're trying to build a business, again, it's just my opinion. Red jacket is great. You just can do something individually. It's still great. It's still great, to get. Yes, you know, but that green one is absolutely probably the most important jacket to get. That means
I
you've
would
led a
have to
team.
I would have to agree with you wholeheartedly. And even
Yeah.
just how you started the call from start to finish, Harold, you can tell like at this point, it's not just about you. And I think that that's really respectable because when we come in here and we make it just about us for so long, it's going to get like you're not gonna want to stay plugged in anymore. You're not
Hmm.
gonna feel like you're making that impact anymore, right? But when you have a team of people that are working with you, that are getting paid, that are helping families, like that issued 10 million in the year. That is a huge accomplishment, and that is something to be very proud of, because just like you said, Harold, you hit it right on the head. Like, I myself can do it, that's great, but I can duplicate it and teach it to other people. Like, that's going to help a whole lot more people, eat and serve families, so to say, which coincide in my opinion. But thank you so much, Harold, for being on. You literally crushed this call, and it was just by being your authentic self. So thank you, thank you.
Thank
But
you for having
aside
me.
from that, absolutely, you got it.